Hello everyone. In this video, I am going to talk about modernism, and I would request you to watch my video, What is Modernity? The link would be in the description to understand this video in a better way. So, modernism was an aesthetic response to modernity, as we claimed in the last video, and modernity was directly related to the rise of industrial economy, the ideals of the Enlightenment, which proclaimed the dignity of man, the importance of human reason, rationality. So, on the one hand, when the late 19th century was witnessing an unprecedented change in the realm of science and technology, and with that, there was a belief that human life is becoming better day by day. On the other hand, there was an anxiety about the same science and technology which was hitherto been very positive as far as the human progress is concerned. And here we need to understand the context of the First World War, which traumatized many artists of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. And in fact, the way in which they got involved with the new ways of representation, the new ways of representing life, the former experiments that we see in modernism, and which is a cardinal feature of modernist art, can be connected with their perception of life that changed or got affected by the First World War. Now, on the one hand, science and technology promised human development, human progress. On the other hand, it also took European civilization on the verge of obliteration. Now, war has always been a part of human life, but then this war, the First World War, which started in 1914 and ended in 1918, was something that was unprecedented. Europe has never seen any kind of war like this before. Why? Because, as you know, that this very war is known as the first modern war. Why? Because many of the technologies and tools that we associate now with warfare, that is in our time, got introduced during this war. You can think of the tanks, you can think of the wide ranging cannons, the fighter planes, the poison gas, which, by the way, got banned when there was a decision taken in the Geneva Convention of 1925. Radio communications were used during this time. So many things, so many technological tools got incorporated into war. And all this gave the artist a sense of despair, a sense that they expressed in their art through apocalyptic visions, through the theme of spiritual crisis, moral crisis, and hence we can see that even the form lost coherence. The way in which things got told to the reader, to the audience, changed drastically during this time. So you can relate the stream of consciousness technique, the non-linear way of telling stories, and the para-rhyme which we find in Wilfred Owen's war poems, all are somehow connected with the artist's perception of life that changed drastically because of the First World War. So the war, on the one hand, directly killed more than 16 million people and affected so many people indirectly through influenza, through the trauma of trench warfare. On the other hand, it also robbed the artist of hope and drove them to the world of despair, to the world which was fragmented in nature, which was quite incoherent in nature. And yet, some way or the other, as modernist artists would still have some hope, and this we would understand when we would talk about postmodernism in subsequent videos, that how the modernist artists still hoped to put an order to this apparent chaos. And we often think of the mythic method that T.S. Eliot or James Joyce or W.B. Yeats used during this time. They created modern myths so that those myths can put an order, put a coherence to the otherwise chaotic and destructive world. So, all these formal experiments that we find in modernist art, be it Picasso's Cubism or any movement which might foreground the dreams like Surrealism, or any particular movement in painting like Expressionism that tried to distort reality in certain ways, all these are connected somehow with the carnage, with the trauma that this war brought forth. We can think of Mrs. Dalloway, since it is in our syllabus, in the syllabus of the fourth semester students of Durgapur Women's College, where I teach, that we can think of Mrs. Dalloway's Septimus Smith, the character in the novel by Virginia Woolf, who suffers from what is now known as PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder. So he suffered from what was at that time known as shell shock, and he creates a new world, a different world altogether. And he's considered as mad, as a person who suffers from illness. You will understand this when you will read Mrs. Dalloway. We can also think of W.B. Yeats's apocalyptic vision, as he expresses that in the poem The Second Coming, which again we are going to discuss in subsequent videos. And there he talks about a rough beast which is going to put an end to human civilization, so that human civilization starts afresh. And that is how history progresses, through the cycle of creation and destruction. So, all these movements, all these changes which were taking place in the realm of art, can be connected with the World War. That's all for this video. We would talk about modernism in the subsequent videos. Thanks for watching.